Hi, thanks for calling West Ride Smash Repairs. How can I help you today?
I just wanted to check up the status of my car, please.
Sure, I can help with that. Could you please tell me your vehicle registration number?
It's ABC123.
Just to confirm, that's ABC 123, is that right?
Yes.
Thanks. And may I have your full name, please?
Chris Galotta.
Thanks, Chris. Let me check the status of your vehicle for you now. Your Honda CR-V is currently in the workshop, but we're waiting on parts to arrive. Expected by the 28th of March, 2026.
Do you know what parts we're waiting on?
Yes, we're waiting on the rear bumper assembly for your vehicle. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
Okay, no problem. Yeah, that's fine. I'll check back in on the 28th of March.
Great, Chris. I'll let you go for now. Feel free to check back anytime. Have a good day.
Thank you. The phone call you just heard was an AI agent that we built for a body shop. Now, this body shop we've been working closely with for a couple of weeks. They wanted the agent to be able to handle 3 different call outcomes, which I'll show you now. So the first one you just heard is a customer call and the vehicle lookup. So this is quite handy for existing customers where people are calling up the body shop and just wanting to get a status update on their vehicle. Some smash repairers do automated text messages depending on which stage the vehicle's at in the repair. That's often done through the insurance companies though, and a lot of the body shops that I've spoken to want to actually be able to provide those updates to their customer. So we can do proactive updates like text messages or emails, but the agent you just heard is integrated into iBodyShop. It allows the body shop to be able to run all of their jobs through it. So we're using the reporting API, and an API, to keep it simple, is basically just a connector that allows us to access readable data from within the platform. So what's actually happening is the agent is handling the call within our platform. They're then using a vehicle lookup tool that we can allow them to have access to certain parts of data. I'll show you an example of what that could look like here. So the agent's going to want a few things. As you heard on the call, it specifically asked for my registration and my name. So these are the details that we have accessible within the iBodyShop software: the registration number, the display name, and then the agent told me, yes, you have the Honda CR-V. We're just awaiting on parts. And because this body shop were keeping their notes up to date, we had the notes section available in this column here, which was the job I was calling about. She told me that the estimated completion was the 28th of March, which is later on this week, and that the part we're waiting on is the arrival of the rear bumper assembly. The next typical reason that people and customers will call body shops is to book a new appointment. So you haven't heard an example of this yet, but the agent can actually collect the details from the customer if they're wanting to bring the car in, assuming it's drivable. They can then drive the car in and have a coordinated time with the body shop to be able to book the appointment, bring the car in and have it inspected. This can all be done with the same agent using different tools like a calendar lookup for availability. The agent is trained by default to know your opening hours, your location. It can send text messages to customers if need be with the address or a link to the Google Map, so that they can easily get directions from it straight away. This would then trigger the creation of an appointment on your calendar. It would pull through all of the customer details with their phone number, their email address, the car details, and a rough description of the accident or the damage that's occurred. The last one, and probably the most impactful to body shops, is going to be the accident flow. So oftentimes when accidents happen after hours, people are, as you can imagine, in a panic. They're just going to call the nearest body shop, and body shops are going to be spending a lot of money and time to be able to rank as highly as possible in order to be able to capture customers that are calling out of urgency. If you're a body shop and you don't have 24-hour answering or some kind of AI, chances are that customer is going to call you, and then if you don't answer, they'll move on to the next person. So we've actually built in an accident flow here. Now, the requirement for the customer that we were working with was to enable the customer to be able to speak to an AI. The AI first will reassure the customer and let them know, hey, just making sure you're clear of the roadway. If anybody's hurt, please hang up and call 000, to kind of initially triage and assess the severity of the accident. From there, if nobody's injured and the car is not drivable, we've set up the ability for the customer to be connected directly through to a tow truck company. And the cool thing about this is that we've set up 2 companies in case the first one doesn't answer. As a body shop, this is important because you can now partner with people who you know are going to be working with you and bringing the car back to your shop. So chances are over the weekend or overnight, you may have a car that's been brought in by a tow truck to be assessed first thing the next morning. And that helps you with ensuring that the money that you're spending on ads is being captured. You're bringing in new customers even after hours, 24/7, the AI agent's answering the phone. and capturing those jobs for you. It will transfer to the tow truck company, it will connect to them, and it will even do a warm handover. So when the tow truck driver answers the phone, the AI agent, before connecting the customer, will say, "Hey John, it's so-and-so from the Smash Repair. I've got somebody on the line who's just had an accident on Smith Street. They drive a Toyota Corolla and they said that there is severe damage to the front quarter panel and the car is not drivable." The tow truck driver can then accept the call and they're patched through immediately, understanding the situation, and they can simply just coordinate a time with the driver. So these are all the types of calls that it can handle. I'm going to go through the actual build now to give you an example of how it's built and all the different types of situations that the AI agent can handle. So it starts with the greeting node. So this is going to be the first entry point when the call is connected. The agent has some global instructions here. So on the right hand side, you can see we've given the receptionist an identity. And this is where we have control over how it speaks, what it says, and its basic instructions. So we can incorporate styling guardrails. This might be if your business, you want to be very, very professional, or you want to have more of a fun tone. We have full control over all of those different settings here. So upon starting the call, there's a few different transitions. Once the caller is greeted, there's 4 different ways that the customer can actually get help from the business or from the agent. So the one you would have just heard was the caller wanting to check on their vehicle. So this is a repair status lookup. You can see now the vehicle status check. We're instructing the agent that the caller wants to check on their vehicle, and we need to have that connection into the iBodyShop software to enable the lookup to take place. And that's basically what's happening here. So the agent would have extracted the variables and gathered that information from me, executed a job status lookup tool where this is now connected into the platform, and we're able to pull through the job status, the registration, the estimated completion date. Once it's got and found those details, the vehicle status response will basically deliver the message back to the customer to let the customer know, as you heard, this is the date that the vehicle is going to be delivered or ready. That we can then transition to the end call, and that's assuming the customer has nothing else that we can help them with. As you heard before we ended the call, the agent checked if there was anything else I could help with. From that, if I did have further questions about what the business does, we can transition to this general inquiry node. And this is what's called a global node. So basically that means that at any point throughout the entire conversation, the agent can transfer back to this node. So this is the North Star. So if the caller has other questions after they've finished another flow, they can return here, and this is the part of the call that will handle all of the questions in the inquiry. The next one's a new booking. So if the caller wants to book a new vehicle in, the agent can gather the information needed to book the job in. So we're going to be asking all of these questions and then confirming those details back to the customer before proceeding. This module here actually extracts all the important parts of the information from the call. So people might say a lot of different things, but as a core fundamental, this agent is going to be working on collecting all of these different data points, regardless of how much information the customer shares. This is what will be extracted from the call. We then have the option of triggering a booking email. This can go to the customer, the body shop, or both. In this case, it's a notification that goes off to the body shop to say that a new customer is booked in. This could also be a calendar invite, and we could also set up an SMS node here, which we would then connect up to this part of the flow. And that could be a static message with the Google Maps link or the Apple Maps link to your Smash Repair location, so that the customer will receive that as a text and they can easily navigate to it from there. Once all the information's been gathered and the email's been sent or the calendar invite has been sent to yourself or the customer, we can now confirm that the vehicle has been booked. And again, we can always get the agent to transfer back to the global node if the customer has further questions, but most of the time people just want to book their car in and end the call, which we can do that quite easily. We've spoken about it a couple of times already, but the global node here, if the caller is just ringing up and has questions about services, how long have you been in business, what kind of work do you do, this would be the node that would handle all of those different types of inquiries. So you can see here we've filled it in with a lot of the information, but this is also connected to an external knowledge base. So there's another repository or a database of information that we have that's connected up to this agent. So if the caller asks more detailed questions like, do you work on 2015 Toyotas, or some very specific information about the business, that doesn't have to be stored here, it's stored elsewhere, but the agent within this can actually access that information. From the inquiry, there's also a chance that somebody would want to request to speak to a person, so we never actually lock anyone into just speaking with the agent. The agent is built to handle a vast majority of calls, 70 or 80% of calls during business hours, and then those after hours calls as well, 24/7. So if somebody does call and wants to speak to a real person, we have to incorporate a logic split. This will ensure before transferring through to the business that the caller is calling during working hours. There would be no point having a caller call after hours and request to speak to someone and have the agent try and transfer the call through to the business at 9 o'clock in the evening. So this logic split will actually check what is the current time at the time of this call. If it's after hours, we can say, I understand you'd like to speak to a human, let me transfer you through, and we will then run that business hours transfer call. If the transfer of the call fails, so somebody at the business doesn't answer, or if it is after hours, we can pass this message through, which basically says the team isn't available right now. We'll take a message and get back to you. The agent extracts these critical variables, which is the message, the phone number, and the name of the caller, sends the owner a message, and then gives the owner unavailable wrap-up message. So this basically just says, your message has been sent to the business, we'll give you a call back within 24 hours. And this will then proceed to ending the call. The last call type will be if the caller has been in an accident, needs a tow truck, or emergency roadside assistance. If the caller has been in an accident, then the call from accident flow will be enabled. This instructs the agent to help the person on the phone, firstly by checking if there is anybody that's injured. Secondly, by telling them to hang up and call 000 if people are injured, but if not, then you can instruct them to remain calm and reassure them that you will help them through this situation. Check if the car is drivable. If it's not, the caller will then be transferred through to a tow truck company. But before we do that, we want to collect the critical details from the customer. So gathering those details, again, the variables from the call that have to be predefined and set so the call can't progress without collecting this information. So there's a fallback here. So once the details have been gathered, we will transfer the customer through to the tow truck company. In the instance that that tow truck company answers, you can see on the right-hand side here, we've instructed the AI agent to give the warm transfer. So that will instruct the tow truck driver, as we said before, what the situation is, what the person's name is, and where they're stuck. If the first company doesn't answer, there will be a backup. So we'll have a second transfer to a different company. And if they both don't answer, this would then trigger the alert to say that both companies are busy. We have gathered your details. And from this point, there's a few different things we could do. So the first one is to actually send a text to an emergency number or send a text to one of the tow truck drivers so that if they are on the other line, they can call the customer back within a few minutes. Otherwise, the details can be collected and then emailed through to the body shop to ensure that they get back to them. Alternatively, the owner or the manager of the shop could be notified by text as well. In that case, they may want to try and find a tow truck for them manually and patch them through. So this agent was not built to fully replace your entire front of house and your entire body shop staff. There will still need to be people, but what this is designed to do is to handle 80 or 90% of the more menial tasks, the tasks that are repeatable, that are simply looking up within a system and letting the customer know the answer to a question, which is quite basic. So this could be set up to run either after hours as an overflow agent, or it could be set up to run 24 hours a day. It's really up to you as the business owner, how you'd like to deploy this. And of course, if you're interested in having something like this built for your shop, we'd be more than happy to use the integration that we have with iBodyShop, or help you with scoping out a custom build to your body shop software of choice. And we can ensure that the software is customized and built to your needs in your business. I hope that overview was helpful for you. If you're interested in having something like this built for your shop, don't hesitate to give me a message or a DM or wherever we are on whichever platform. You can send me a message and get in touch. Otherwise, my website is nextlayerai.com. That's nextlayerai.com. Feel free to get in touch with us there. And if you do have any questions on the build or how this all works, feel free to send me a message. Thank you.